Thank you. Welcome to Clean Lakes Alliance's talk called Our Lakes at a Crossroads. My name is James Tye. I'm the founder and executive director of the Clean Lakes Alliance. So, let me see if I get this. Oh, excuse me. So this is actually one of my favorite pictures of Madison. What you're actually looking in the foreground at the bottom is actually Lake Mendota along Shorewood. And then you have University Bay, and then you have Lake Monona in the background. It's sort of a different perspective of how you would look at it. Because on the far left-hand corner, you can see the Cove condominiums there, just at the edge of the screen. So this is our beautiful lake. You can sort of see in the background. But unfortunately, a lot of times we get these large algae blooms. This is actually on Lake Mendota. So the Madison Lakes used to be called Tejope. This was the region of 4 lakes. It's actually spelled T-E. It's not Tejope. That's how you pronounce it, but it's Tejope is how you pronounce it. And there were thousands of effigy mounds around the lakes. There's a map from quite some time ago, sort of identifying some of those Native American spots around Lake Mendota, especially. And some of the reason that why was there's a connection between high points of land near water. And as you might know, Lake Mendota has a lot of cliffs and bluffs and things like that. We actually had the most effigy mounds in North America around the Madison Lakes. So then in our region, we started to settle the isthmus. Right here, there's actually 2 isthmus cities in the country. Does anybody know what the other isthmus city is? It's actually Seattle. It's the interesting thing. If you look at a map of Seattle, you can see a isthmus. So here you have the capital in the middle, and we were called the City of 4 Lakes. They actually did not include all, we actually have 5 lakes, as everybody knows, and the city of Madison was founded in 1829. Okay, so here's a little pop quiz for everybody. We have 58 miles of shoreline. So if you go do a little map around each little shoreline, there's 58 miles in total if you would walk around the edge of all 5 lakes. How many miles of the shoreline are actually publicly owned? So they're in public trust. They're either a park or conservation area owned by the state or the city of McFarland. Maybe you want to take a guess? 5 miles, 12 miles, or 28 miles are actually public parks. Everybody's very talkative tonight. So the answer is actually 28 miles. So almost 48% of the shoreline is publicly owned. It's a great asset to our community. The goal of the Clean Lakes Alliance, or the tagline, is healthy lakes equal healthy community. Here's a great shot of the Ironman. Our lakes bring a lot of tourism to Madison. They're used as an economic engine and something that we all cherish. So today, we're going to go through, sort of over here on the left, the challenge that we have, our vision for the lakes, the plan to clean up our lakes, what actions are we doing currently to help protect them, how do we engage the community, get more people involved, some of the headwinds, things that are working against us, and then next steps to make sure that we get where we want to go. So first, our lakes are all impaired. They're on the EPA impaired waters list, all 5 lakes since 2013. Most of the tributaries going to the lakes, that would be things like the Yahara River, Doran Creek, Starkweather Creek, and 9 of our public beaches also. So this is a very big concern I don't think everybody really realizes the severity of where we are at. And the way that they do this is they actually measure the water quality in the lakes on an annual basis, and the state does, and then submits that to the EPA. So that's how that happens. So our biggest problem for the lakes is phosphorus, right? And so phosphorus comes from two basic areas. Our biggest problem for our lakes is leaf runoff. So leaves that are in the street have phosphorus in them, and then also from cow manure. The graph on the right is our watershed. So it's the Yahara Watershed. The pinkish areas are urbanized, so you gain more of the leaf runoff, and the yellow area is going to be agriculture runoff. 30% of the phosphorus that enters our lakes actually is urban, and then 70% is rural. So we get a lot of our runoff from the rural, but we can't reach our goal without making changes in both the rural area and the urban. So everything flows downhill, right? So the picture on the left is actually by Pheasant Branch. That's a field there, and it goes down to Pheasant Branch, and then goes down into Lake Mendota. And then the right, you have a stormwater drain, and that plume of brown stuff is actually going out into Lake Mendota by James Madison Park on the isthmus. So phosphorus and algae. So phosphorus is an element. It's found in, things, as I said, leaves and, dog, and also phosphorus coming from manure. So 1 pound of phosphorus equals 500 pounds of algae. It's just an extreme amount of algae. So what happens then when we get too much algae? You get things like these cyanobacteria blooms, or the common word is blue-green algae. This is a bloom here on June 7th of 2018. But with reducing phosphorus, this is another lake here. This is Lake Wingra, and you can have a really clear day where you can see that beautiful sandy bottom of lakes. So currently, and the updated is that we're getting 110,000 pounds of phosphorus enters the lakes on a regular basis. We want to reduce that down to about 48,000 pounds. If we can get to that mile marker, we will double the amount of days that are clear and the lakes are more usable. And I'll stop there for a second. Do you have anybody have any questions? Okay. So this is Warner Beach. This is the old boathouse that's now under construction. They're rebuilding it. But look at that beach, right? So there's a nice little beach and beach house and a chair. And the water, I can tell you, was crystal clear. This is July 3rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 80 degrees. Nobody was at the beach. And it wasn't because the beach was bad or the water was good. People have just sort of given up hope. And they're not even, on the 4th of July weekend, they're not even going to a beach to go try it out, because the perception is that the lakes are always filled with algae, and that's just not true. So the Clean Lakes Alliance was started in 2010. We are a growing organization. We are actually now the 3rd largest lakes organization in the United States of America. This will give you a sort of look here of, this is our board and committee members. So it's not just people who live on the lakes. You can see there that many people from across our community that support our work. These are our board and committee members. And then these are our donors. We have over 2,000 people that support our work with an annual donation starting at $35. And we've worked hard to make sure that we're a grassroots organization. We do get support from large companies, but also it's really important for the average citizen to support our efforts. Our board is consisted of businesses, government, and then nonprofits. So even like the Friends of Lake Wabeesa have a place on our board, or we have a place on our board from an executive from Land's End, or we have the deputy mayor of Madison. So we try to make sure that we represent our diverse community on our board. Our current plan that we're just finishing up idea was to increase community engagement, let more people know about what's going on, give people more opportunities to participate in our work. And the more people that get involved and get engaged and learn about the lakes, then we could do more to reduce the amount of phosphorus. So how do we get there? We created a plan called Yahara Clean. So it's one of those wonderful government acronyms, right? So it's Yahara, and then Clean is Capital Lakes Environmental Assessment and Needs. What looked at was both urban and rural areas to reduce phosphorus. And these are all the different practices and areas of focus. There's 14 of them. This is some of the urban stuff. We got leaves, construction erosion, stormwater permits, really exciting stuff. Stabilizing some of those urban stormwater ways, and then reducing suspended solids in stormwater. And then we've got the rural areas, which is a little bit larger because there's more, and we have a lot going on with agriculture, cover crops, and different things like that. But we also realized that we need to do more. So the Clean Lakes Alliance is right now in Yahara Clean 3.0, which we started last year, to bring more people into the fold, to get more organizations involved. And so we have 19 organizations now in the Yahara Clean Compact, signed by the Chancellor, the Realtors Association, Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin, really bring more people together to work together to create a new plan to get some of the actions done that we want to get done. So this is pre-COVID, so we're all together without masks, working in different groups from all the different 19 organizations sort of to come together, compact meeting. But really it's to do this, right? So on an annual basis, we do what's called the State of the Lakes Report. It was started by the Clean Lakes Alliance, and to track what are the things that we do on an annual basis to reduce the amount of phosphorus. So you can see from the left to the right, we are doing more every single year, but probably not the pace that we want to get at in order to reach our goal. So we continue at this pace, we're going to be at this for another 20 years. So we need to pick up the pace. That's why we're creating the Yahara Clean Compact. But that doesn't mean that Clean Lakes Alliance has not done stuff over there. We've done $1.1 million of grants going out to do work. One of the things is that we've done $800,000 in grants out to the agriculture community through our partner organization called Yahara Pride Farms, which we helped found in the year 2011. We helped do a retention pond in the city of Middleton to help some of that water settle before it went right into the lakes. We did $500,000 to that. I mean, 50,000, not 500, excuse me. We helped facilitate a purchase of a piece of land. So this is north of Lake Mendota. This is called the Doran Creek Tributary. And that piece of property there in the yellow was owned by somebody who knew one of our board members and got that person to lower the price. And that's actually where Suck the Muck is going. Does anybody know what Suck the Muck is? Raise your hand if you know what it is. So it's an effort to actually go in and dredge the tributaries of all that muck that's been caught up for years, right? So you think of it sort of like you're eating cheeseburgers and bad food all the time, you're gonna clog up your arteries. So you have to stop eating cheeseburgers and you have to clean out your arteries. So it's a project led by the county to go in and dredge out a lot of that soil that has a lot of phosphorus in it. And so we helped get that piece of purchase of that land, and the county is doing Suck the Muck. We've also helped purchase Harvestable Buffers. This is what goes between a farm field and the stream. It used to be the farmers would go all the way up to the stream with the crops. Now you put a perennial crop in there, at least 30 feet. It actually goes on the deed. So we have rented 3 miles for 15 years that land then is protected. Even if they sell the property, it's on the deed. Actually 3.4 miles, as my little thing says on the bottom. So that's another item that the Clean Lakes Alliance has done. We also looked at, who's seen this before, how they spread manure. They start cascade it across the top. I'm gonna try it. Anybody ever seen that before? So that's where you also can smell it sometimes. You know, you might be in your neighborhood and smell manure. So we purchased a machine in partnership with the county, and this machine actually injects the manure down here at the bottom. We put in $58,000, and so did the county. And it actually injects manure right there, 3 to 5 inches underneath the ground. So it opens up the ground, they inject manure, and then the soil goes back on top, because the phosphorus is needed to help crops grow. But this is better. Instead of just sort of spraying at the top, you put it down in the roots and then cover it back up. Anybody have any questions about vertical manure injection? I bet you didn't know you're going to learn about that tonight. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So how does that reduce the phosphorus? Because wouldn't water from rain and whatnot then, bring it out into the watershed?
Well, it's better. So the first one would be that they spray it on top, right? Then the rain would hit, and then the manure would move. So it's underneath ground. So the rain, when you get a heavy rain event, it won't wash off, because manure is 3 to 6 inches down. If it's layered just on top and you get a big rain, that's more likely to create runoff.
So I have a question about this machine that you purchased.
Yeah.
So you purchased one, correct?
And then different farmers use it. So they'll.
That's what my question was going to be, is how is that for like a whole geographic area of farmers then to use? Or how
Yes. The idea is, we basically bought one so that people could see how good it is, and how they can use it. It's like, the car dealer always want you to come out and get in the car. Once you drive the car, you'll find out how great it is. The idea is that we didn't need to buy one for every farmer. We could buy one. They could try it out, see how well it was for their farm, because they also want to keep their soil healthy. And that way they can also buy one for themselves sometime.
What has the feedback been from the farmers?
Oh, they love this machine.
Okay.
They look at manure as a resource because it helps their plants grow. And now this saves it. And they don't want their soil to run off either. Yes, go ahead.
Looks like you're muted, Nancy.
So Nancy, when you come back on, we'll take your question.
Okay.
Oh,
am I on?
We can hear you. Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay. I was wondering if there were any more of those machines purchased.
I don't know, because I can't keep track of all the farmers out there, unfortunately. But I do know this one's heavily used and they do like it.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah, thank you. So the other thing is we gave a pilot to improve manure processing. So this is manure, and they're able to hook up this new machine and aerate it, and it reduces the amount of phosphorus in it. So it's better to go out on land. And that's also been picked up by other farmers. We also started a program called Leaf Free Streets, and trying to do a combined campaign with the different municipalities. So we're using the same language and the same logos to promote that, those leaves. As you can see on the right, if you move I'm not sure where your little pictures are, but you can see that teacup. And so you can imagine, just like you make tea, if you pour water through your tea, that turns the water dark, right? So that's the same happens with leaves. If you leave the leaves in the street, then the water goes through it and it pulls out that phosphorus, which goes in the lakes. So it's really important to keep the leaves and those things out of the street. It can have a dramatic effect on the lakes. We have our campaign here talking about keep them out of the street. which has been picked up by different municipalities as billboard. Then one of the things that we do is we partnered with different organizations, and there's this thing called Pheasant Branch, which is north of Lake Mendota. We committed $100,000 towards this project. They actually removed a dairy farm, and now they're restoring it into a prairie, which has made a huge difference in our community. So we came up with 10 things that everybody can do at home. Reducing the salt. You need very little salt actually to be effective. Install a rain barrel. Try home composting. Plant native plants. Create a rain garden. Redirect those downspouts. You can also plant gardens at your home. Make sure you pick up pet waste. Tell neighbors what you're doing. And of course, we just talked about rake leaves out of the streets. We also think education and engaging the community is really important. We have a monthly thing called Clean Lakes 101. We actually have it tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. So you can go to our website and find the link or go to social media. We have a different speaker every month. We have 2 people speaking tomorrow on the update of lake science for our lakes, how the lake responds to phosphorus reduction, invasive species, and things like that. We think that's really important. With education, people can become a champion of the lakes themselves. We also do a lot of work with kids programming. We do a Lake Explorer camp. We also have educational resources on our website for kids with Billy the Bluegill. It's important to give kids those opportunities to learn about the lakes, so then they can also be an advocate and a spokesperson for lakes in the future. We do tours. There's a pre-COVID tour down by Lake Wabisa. There's a farm that does grazing. He actually does cattle and sells his meat at the local farmers market. So he's not disturbing the soil. We do volunteer days where we're cleaning up beaches and lake parks and things like that. In 2019, we actually did a volunteer day almost every single week during the season. We did 25 days. That's a lot for a little organization. If you get that's 25 volunteer days. So that's basically 1 a week from spring till fall. We also developed a really unique tool called Lake Forecast. It's our citizen monitors. We have over 70 citizen monitors around the lakes, and they go out, test on a weekly basis, recording clarity, temperature, items like that. And then they're live on our website and also interacts with the beach closures if they're open or closed. And so you can see, if you're going to go to a beach, you can go on here and see what the water clarity is like before you go to the beach. It's sort of a unique thing. It also does Mendota buoy. So that yellow little dot right here, you can see is the buoy on Lake Mendota, and it hooks up to that. So you can find out the water temperature in the middle of Lake Mendota also. So it's really interesting. It's combining science from the UW, beach closures, and then citizen monitoring all in one location. And you can look that on, it's an app, or you can go look at it on our website too, lakeforecast.org. One of the things that we think is important is to engage people. So we do a winter festival. This is called Frozen Assets. Last year, because it was before COVID, we actually brought 10,000 people down to the Edgewater and onto the lakes where they could learn about ice fishing, ice boating. We had sleigh rides, all s'mores on the lake. Really, getting something to do in the winter and really celebrating the lakes. Because when the lakes are frozen, they are actually our largest parks, if you think about that. We also, on an annual basis, have the State of the Lakes. This year, we can't be in person, so we're going to be doing a TV special on ABC here in Madison. So that will be Wednesday, May 26th at 6:30 p.m. on WKOW. It's a TV special called the State of Lakes, but we also do this one usually in person with people like the mayor and different scientists and people doing different work. So look forward to that in 2022. Any questions before I move on? Okay, thank you. We also do a very popular event called Loop the Lake. Lake Monona has an official lake loop, and we have usually about 1,000 people sign up to do it every year. It's $35, and if you sign up, your kid rides for free. That's the best thing, and they get the t-shirt. It's sponsored in part with Land's End, so we get a good deal on the t-shirts. But it's a really just way to celebrate the lakes and get people out using them and thinking about them. We also do a Shoreline Swim. This happens in August. We have a paddling events with our partners at Madison Boats. They have locations at Brittingham, Marshall, and Wingra. So you can get out and paddle and support the lakes. We've also been able to put the lakes on our community agenda, whether it's Destination Madison, Down Madison Inc., the Chamber of Commerce. So more people are talking about the lakes on a regular basis because, the former mayor of Madison named Joe Sensenberg sat me down in his backyard and goes, James, it's not your job to clean up the lakes. I'm like, well, that's sort of interesting. I'm the executive director of the Clean Lakes Alliance. What do you mean it's not my job? He goes, it's your job to get everybody else to want to clean up the lakes. So, even though we do projects to clean up the lakes, it's not our job to do it ourselves. Our job is to educate people, get them more engaged, get in on the agendas of all these things. And so as a community, we do it. So, we are heading towards some headwinds. Things are working against us. These little red dots show where the intensity of rain has increased, and we are smack there in this spot. Let me see if I got this right. So we're in this sort of arc where we're going to get more rain, intense rain here than other places in the country. We are a dead spot on this, and this is by NOAA. So I'm just not making this stuff up. This is like real scientists doing real work. And so we are going to have to step up the amount of practices we do in order to fight the increased intensity of rain. Who's seen, sir, anecdotally, the intensity of rain change, right? Where we get these big, quick storms. The other thing is, where do we live? We live in the dairy state. So, you can see across the country, we are in a spot here that has a lot of dairy cows, and we love our dairy cows. We love our ice cream. But how do we work together to both protect the land and the lakes and our dairy industry? And that's what we're going to need. That's why we need to support farmers and help them do what they want to do, which is good work, because they don't want their soil going into the lakes either, because they need that rich soil. So we have to figure out ways to keep that on there. So we've got more manure production going on. We've got less land. We've got more rain going on. It's getting warmer. So those are some of the headwinds that are working against us. You can see that right there in that Dane County. So, is this possible? I say yes. If you would have told, I'm from Madison, and I grew up on the west side of Madison. And if somebody told me that you're going to have to remodel your kitchen in the 1970s, early 80s, if you're going to have to remodel your kitchen and put a drawer in your kitchen that had 2 trash bags, and you're going to have to get rid of your metal trash cans, and city's going to come out and give you standardized, you would have thought people were nuts. There was like no way we're going to remodel our kitchen and do all this, but we did. We've changed how we recycle on a daily basis. And so we can change how we build out our communities. We can do things like in our actions, like add rain barrels and rain gardens to our homes. We just need to create a cultural shift to do that. We've done that with biking. You can't build something in Madison without having a bike path, right? So shouldn't we have a place that, you can't do something without building a rain garden, holding that water back from lakes? You can't. So we can do this, but we have to, create that cultural shift. So where are we right now? So we do a lot of education. We're going to need to do more. Data is really important. Tomorrow, at our Clean Lakes 101, Dick Lathrop and also Dr. Matt Dybel are talking about the new data of what's going on with the lakes. We need a roadmap. So we're creating a new roadmap that we can all get involved with. We're gonna have to identify areas for more money. This is not gonna be cheap, but water is life, so we're gonna have to protect it. We also are gonna need to figure out how to operationalize to get more projects on the ground at a faster pace, and that takes staff. Identify those projects that are most important. Get all you involved, get involved, do something small at your yard, plant native plants, use less salt, get those leaves out of the lakes. Look at some of the policies that your community might have regarding how much water you're going to let come off your land and what's going on with agriculture. And then report progress. That's something that Clean Lakes Alliance has brought to the table, is the State of Lakes report, annually looking at what we have done and what more we can do. So what we're going to ask you today is to join the cultural shift. Think about those resilient landscapes. What can you do at your own home? Remember, the biggest one you can do is get those leaves out of the street, grass clippings, whatever you think, whatever goes in the street actually ends up in the lakes at some point through the stormwater system. Come learn more, become more educated. The Clean Lakes 101s are open to the public. Sign up to get our monthly lakeogram. It comes out in the first every month, has lots of news articles about what's going on in the lakes, what you can do, how you can volunteer. If you'd like to make a donation, your business become a lake partner, or you can become a friend of Clean Lakes Alliance for as little as $35 a year. And then the big thing is Loop the Lake coming up. So it's a really fun ride around Lake Monona, and we hope that you will join us. And that's my talk. And just to let you know, we're very proud. This is our 5th year of getting the seal of transparency from GuideStar. It's the highest level of the organization that they give to, and it's the largest nonprofit rating organization in the United States. And thank you. And I'm open for questions. How about the Johnsons? They're behind the. What do you guys think?
Well, I had a question. So a couple years ago, the Go Big Read was The Death and Life of the Great Lakes by Dan Egan. And I was curious if you also did work about invasive species in the lakes.
Yeah, so right now there's a Clean Boats, Clean Waters program run by the county. We actually are going to be looking at partnering with them, expanding that so that every boat ramp will have better signage, more tools, and maybe even working with different communities to put volunteers at peak points at that. So that's actually a meeting coming up with the county in about a week to talk about that. So, and the invasive species have changed lakes. We had a thing called the spiny water flea a couple years ago, and those things were like spiny, right? So it's like a little shrimp with all these little spines, and they would eat our good little friends, the Daphnia, which eat algae. So that was bad because you had one thing eating the other. But then we had zebra mussels come along, and zebra mussels actually clean the water. They're really good at cleaning the water, but they're also sharp and will cause other types of problems. And so, protecting lakes from invasive species needs to be higher on the list, and we're working towards that. Good question.
And then we have a question in the chat. Do you have any rain barrel suggestions? I
just moved to a new house and I'm Googling that myself. There are a lot of different types. It's more about the style that you want. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to raise mine up. So they're going to be like on a pedestal about 2 feet high. So that way my watering can sit on the ground and I can just pour the water in that. So that's one hint that I would do, raise it up a little bit.
Yeah, that was going to be my question too, is if you have any partnerships with a local company about rain barrels or even compost bins I know several years ago, I think it was the county had compost bins that you could drive over and pick up at the Coliseum.
Yeah, there is one there. Those are a square box
Oh,
that sort of comes together and they do a program. There are a lot of options now. So I think, you want to sort of think about what's be best for your home. We don't have a specific partner that we sort of push as the rain barrel. It's
okay.
more of probably an aesthetic thing for people. But I
Mhm.
would suggest raising it up so you can put your watering can underneath instead of having it sit on the ground.
How about compost bins? Do you have any recommendations for those?
I don't have a personal recommendation for those. I haven't gotten to that. That's not in my, I haven't personally done that in my, I've got rain garden and rain barrel and my downspouts and raking leaves. I haven't jumped into composting myself yet. Any other questions or thoughts? Otherwise, I'd love to have you guys all join us tomorrow or in the future at the Clean Lakes 101. Those are really open to the public. Maybe the library can share that and some of their information that they send out too.
Thank you, James. I learned a lot tonight. I appreciate it.
Yes, nice seeing you again. Thank you.
Same here.
Anybody else?